Welcome to Mindful Drawing. I'm Robert, and I'll be your guide on this meditation practice that enters a space of mindfulness through the act of drawing. This week, I thought we'd go back to some of those early drawing lessons. If you've ever looked at kind of an art book, a drawing book, or a figure book, we start to shape out the figure with simple circles, ellipses, maybe some boxes, a few axes or alignments. And keep this one kind of open and free, a little playful figuring of things, and just slowly build up a collection of shapes, look at their outline and how those shapes meet each other, and give a little shading and shadow, and see if we can't tease out a few forms from that page. So the things can look like something you could work, say, on your hand as a model in front of you, or think of a dinosaur or human movement and gesture if you have some experience with that. But if not, I'm going to keep mine pretty abstract and playful, maybe develop some strange little creatures or organisms there on the paper, and just see where the exercise takes my imagination. Pencil can work really well for this since it gives you that softness, flexibility to make things heavier or lighter kind of quickly, but pen can work just fine. I did my test warm up with the pen this morning and no problems with it. So choosing whatever you'd like to draw with will work well. You could mix and match just to get to different degrees of value and tone to come out from the paper. I work here on a little piece of Bristol, but any notebook paper, printer paper, sketchbook, sketchpad will do just fine. So go ahead and gather what you have. And as you prepare yourself to enter the exercise, just take a few moments to refresh the mind, set yourself in this space, get comfortable, make sure all your things are handy and around so that there's no unnecessary distractions. We'll let those distractions that just creep up through the mind through any kind of practice be part of what they are, but we don't need to go looking for things or rustling around. We want to be in a nice place so we can really focus for 25 minutes or so. And when you feel ready, gather your supplies, establish your space, and let's draw together. My thoughts today were to do kind of an open-ended form exercise, but starting with that simple blocking out or shaping out of form you might learn in a figure class or something. You can always use your hand as a guide if you like, just for the technique warm up, thinking about it that way. And we have all the little segments of our hand, and one way would be to kind of contour it and get them all kind of in the right place and draw it. Another way might be to work piece by piece to kind of get each one oriented in a certain way. So if you want to use that as a guide through the exercise or just in the warm up, but you can also draw dinosaur, a figure dancing, anything you're comfortable with, or the weird mutant shapes that I might draw as I just let the exercise take me on my way. But to think about the technique, I'll just trace my way down a finger or two as an example. I might start by shaping this out with the kind of rectangular-ish roundness of a base element. And I'm going to use pencil, I think, mostly to get that lightness, so I'll push a little harder. So you can see if you want. Taking on kind of the form there. The edges could be more square, more round. You could use more of a rectangular, an ovoid, just preference. And moving to the next one as a general proportion, length and width that you can start to observe. It has an angle that may be a little different than the first. And boxing it in. Little potential overlap as the forms do take on more of a merge condition at some point. And we have a little bit smaller, a little bit angled differently, the rounder, perhaps tip to the finger. And if you're tracking along something, this is a way to kind of get the pieces in the right place. And if you miss one, just come back and adjust it a little bit, reposition it, reshape it, just getting the general figure in play. But without a hand or anything, you can always just draw something of a shape. You can have a little bit of motion to that shape if you like. Though keeping them fairly simple to begin with, because we can always build complexity by adding a few together. They don't have to resemble something real. They can just be this collection of nodes, little toys linking together. And then once you figure something out on the page, we'll give it a little form, coming back and adding some detail to its outline. So if we take the finger idea, on some sides they have this little dent, on other sides moves around that dent, and that place just becomes the little lines and creases in the fold. So you can pay attention to what the thing is if you want, or take on its own shape and characteristics. We'll play a little bit in this, giving maybe just a little shading to one side to give it dark and light and take shape. But if you're just creating your own and making things emerge from the interaction of forms, you might just play around with how they're wrapped. Does the line sometimes go inside and make a fold, or does it always bridge around the outside and make a more continuous surface? Starting to give it more presence on the page, and then again, that maybe a little bit of shading to nooks and crannies, letting things become divots or hills, and just playing with feathery lines. As we get farther in the exercise, we'll start to bring some form to them. So that's the gist of making figures out of little shapes, collections of shapes, chains of shapes, branching, wrapping, whatever it may be. If it helps to have an artifact in front, feel free to use the hand. Look around the room and find something you can re-represent as a series or collection of shapes as you form it, or close the eyes and just see what comes out of a few little aggregations. As we prepare for the larger form of the exercise, getting your page ready and open, getting familiar with the space you're working in, taking an opportunity just to make sure you're set in a nice, comfortable way. You have all the things you need: pencil, pen if you want to use it, good chair, good support, notebooks handy. And take a couple transitioning breaths, breathing in and filling out that space around you. And then exhaling to sink in more to where you are. Your presence at that moment, just in the inhalation and the exhalation. Taking up a little space, and then relaxing into it. Set and settled. The relationship between your eyes, the paper, mediated by your body, your hands, and that instrument of marking. I think I will work a little eyes closed-ish during the exercise. Use them open maybe to find position, and then just let the shape form with a little bit of feeling. So if you'd like to try that, feel free to join. Again, use a guide as you see fit. When you're ready to align your breath with your action, take an inhalation and find a place to begin on the page. And if you're comfortable, close your eyes, and as the breath flows out, just start making that first shape. Use the eyes closed as the first guide, something light, and then come back. Open the eyes and fill it out. Kind of interaction between letting go and then working with what takes place. Little bean shape or peanut or something. And then observing the page, thinking where another shape similar could connect or attach, a direction, an orientation in a general area, and taking a full breath in. Let the eyes lightly close or drift off to out of focus, and lightly form that first part of the shape on your exhalation. And if you feel comfortable or ready, open them up. Guide it a little bit more, perhaps. Complete it if it's a little wobbly, as the eyes closed. Don't come all the way around to the beginning again. And again, noticing now the relationship, choosing another direction or path. Could be a creature or a figure, just be some strange loafy form, finding your next place to begin. Following that cycle of inhaling, closing the eyes, and letting the form mark itself out there with the hand. A couple passes as the breath fully exhales, and as you're ready to inhale again, engaging with the eyes, filling out the figure suggested there by the blind mark. Slowly building the form out. These can work in bifurcations, chains, clustering, all sorts of organizations to them. And a few more slower guided ones, let it open up a little bit in interaction and speed. So inhalation, as you're ready to begin. Eyes finding place and then closing and letting the hand work, figure out into the space of the page. As the breath completes, seeing, observing the shape taking place there, giving it a little more completeness as needed, and choosing another part or another direction to the next aggregation of elements. In inhalation, when you're ready, a place, eyes, soft, hand, capturing a little territory, starting to notice when the eyes are closed, what you see there inside. You see the motion of the hand, you see its relationship to the other shapes. Your eye may remember them a little bit. Whatever it is, just noticing it as we do more at your own pace, as you're ready to add to the cluster or start new clusters anywhere. Keeping that same rhythm, letting yourself fill out some space with the inhalation. Soften or close the eyes, and then letting your hand fill out some space. The exhalation of bringing attention to that motion. The shapes you imagine with the eye closed. And then the completion of them as you open up, see what happened. You can move at your own pace to this, deep breaths or light breaths, quick or slow, whatever feels right to you at this moment. If you have an idea forming, let it unfold, lightly guided in the space between the breaths with the eyes, giving location to the start. If you're just seeing bowls, ellipses, or squares, whatever you're drawing, clumping together, then keep clumping them around for a while. If you use a subject as the guide, say a hand or a figure in the imagination, a little dinosaur shape, then you may see things working towards it. But if, like mine here, I'm just kind of finding a pattern, a rhythm, and letting them express out to those cycles of attention and awareness, attention to the inhalation and the placing. The attention to the way the pencil or pen moves in the shape with the eyes closed. The re-attention as the eyes open, bringing that shape some solidity. Attention to the rhythms that you start to build up, maybe cycles of shaping, amount of times around, directions of shaping, expanding that noticing with each cycle of repetition, like the breath, the repetition of the technique or the action gives us a little more opportunity to look inward, to notice more nuance in each part of that action. Develop our awareness, building new connections in the mind. Maybe stick with us in other ways. That's other creative practices, drawing, painting, anything that deals with form, or just a practice on seeing a little more depth in things, noticing relationships and patterns. Choosing how we engage with them. And make just a few more shapes. Little 5-part body developing on my page. And transition to giving them form. But take your time. You can move back and forth between shaping out and the forming. Some will remain the schematic. Others will emerge from the page. Balloon creatures, perhaps. But in that depth of attention to the figure, to the making and shaping of the mark, as you feel ready to transition, take some time to observe what is there, to maybe squint the eyes or loosely defocus them to see the forms from the shapes. Again, we might look to the nearby, to the hand, to the imagination, think of what things could be added in. Layer in some detail, some edges, some perimeter, to see if they can take on a little bit of form and emergence from the page. Choosing your places of engagement, places like the intersections, the overlaps, choosing one way or another, crease, a fold, a dent, clearly marking that transition between shapes, giving it heaviness, choosing whether to let it leak inside along edges or to ignore them and make its own way. Both conditions can take place in the same drawing. One side, a sharper crease or fold, a heavy edge, thick with graphite. The other side, a wrap this layer over the top, loosely merging them into a more complete whole. Perhaps a little in between somewhere. Each one a chance to play, as we noticed earlier with the hand. Both happen different sides, different times, different positions. And so all conditions can happen here. And they might reveal something. As you draw opportunities to bring little tone and value, shade, imagine the webbing between the index finger and the thumb. Just has a little bit of tone to it, gives definition to shape, maybe some of the weird errant lines from the eyes closed drawing guide. A little shading, just the accumulation of lines. Some dashes at first. At first they may not look like much. Just dark and light. Guided by the atmosphere of the paint. Keep following them, softening the outer edge to the center. Maybe a few creases and folds in there that tell us about surface. Keeping the pen or pencil moving around. Following old lines. Perhaps charting a few new ones. Then softening. Pen or pencil both working the same. Leading up with edges across the boundaries. Filling in the space between. Mimicking edges to the interior in a sense, movement of a surface. Letting the imagination play. And a little fun in the territory there. Some things may look like a bump. Some things may become a divot, crease. We have a whole platform of many pieces to explore and play with. Just let the hand move free and explore the eye, guide a little bit. Take a few minutes to quietly play in that collection of figures. You discover whether that's a technique, an interesting formal relationship, the pattern between figures, or the feelings that come up with the drawing. Potentially a little bit of struggle. What does it look like? How do I get it there? And some of that comes from observation of things out in the world, giving ourselves content to build and draw from, how the physical world interacts with some. Some of it comes from the practice of applying techniques and meet what we've seen, what we imagine. All of that will take time and work, of practice and effort. But in these few minutes, as we play and experiment and explore, noticing any struggle or frustration that may come up, taking a nice deep breath with it, letting the pen and pencil just keep moving a little bit, doing its best to track out some edges, make a little translation. The interesting connection to a little imagination, sparking an idea from some arbitrarily placed shapes on a page. A nice place to be, to see things that could be more than just shapes, expressions. But it can be nice just to sit in the movement and motion of the hand, the play of curves and lines, back and forth, giving a little shade and texture, slowly filling in shape with form, thing it, choosing front and back. Letting go through the breath of destination for a little while. Playing in each moment. Blending one light area into a little shade, one dark area into the empty. Getting lost for a few moments in the drawing. Hopefully, in that quiet space, being lost in a technique, lost in an action. We stay there for a little while if we have time, just to play, the observation, letting go. And if you can, I encourage you to stay with it, draw more shapes, be there as long as you can. If you have to move on to other parts of the day as we come towards the end of the time of the exercise, make your last few marks, relish the interaction of the pen and pencil with the page, feel those curves and edges take shape from a medium, the graphite. Do the last few edges and presence. No rush, some left undone is fine, or return to a little later. Start to take a few noticed deep breaths in to fill out some space. Out to sink into it, occupy it for a few moments. And may slowly come to rest or just slow itself down. The breath slows the mind for a moment, letting it all catch up to where you are. And as you're ready, setting the tool down, whether for a break or to move on, stretching out the hands and the arms a little bit, give them a little thanks for being there and supporting it. The right hand for me working a lot, the left hand supporting, off to the side, grounding on the bench or the table. Both at play and active. And a final breath in, an exhalation. Open your eyes back up to the space around you. To flutter them just a bit, and maybe take in a new look at whatever emerged there on the page. Take a look around the room. Remember where you are. I'm not sure what everyone will find during this exercise. For me, I imagine that these things are proto beings, the start of creatures, but interrupted, little mutations. Maybe they live in the sea, maybe they're just not quite fully formed embryos ready to emerge, maybe for some kind of movie or something, who knows. But I hope you found something that starts to spark that imagination, that excites the eye and the hand to begin working and seeing beyond the techniques or simple forming out of things, and inspires a new way of thinking through that exercise. But more importantly, hope you find a little time just to focus in, to be present with that act, to enjoy drawing for a few minutes and not worry too much about what comes out of it, as you can always come back around, revisit the idea, take it farther, or just let it go, drifting off into the rest of your day and taking with it some of the feelings of relaxation, of maybe inspired imagination, creativity, or an excitement to see what you can discover. If you enjoyed the exercise, please give it a thumbs up below, share in the comments what you found, and let your friends join in on these mindful practices. You can subscribe for new things, usually every Wednesday, though in the summer my schedule gets a little more variable with different projects and traveling, so there might be a miss here or there, but there's plenty to go back and look over if you're interested in the act of drawing in general and some mindfulness. So feel free to explore the whole channel. This is nearing over 200 episodes of mindful drawing, each one exploring a slightly different, slightly tweaked way of dealing with abstraction, of figure, of form, of tone, of texture, of just the elements of drawing connected to an act and practice of mindfulness. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or evening, and draw well. Thank you.